just in terms of that, you know, if we're putting those kind of people in the legislature, then surely we can get, hopefully we can get some better people in there, because those people are on the, without saying any names, it was Delegate Arvon.
Delegate Folk. Delegate Folk.
Yeah, yeah.
But she's geographically kind of close to it, right?
Yeah, she's actually in the Beckley area. So, and that kind of, us passing our ordinance was, in a lot of ways, for me personally, a response to what had happened, and sounds similar to what had happened in Martinsburg, that Beckley was going to pass it, and then pressure from outside church organizations basically killed it in the before it even came up to, they didn't even vote on it, which was, I thought was shameful, honestly, and so I kind of wanted to, I don't know, throw it in their face a little bit, that their neighbors next door did it, and so yeah, I guess just to answer your question, it was, it really opened my eyes to how sneaky, you know, which is not a word that you should associate with the legislature. So, yeah.
Yeah, to clarify, HB 2881, they called it the Intrastate Commerce Improvement Act, which was about promoting like less confusing laws between different towns and cities in West Virginia. Because if Charleston has a non-discrimination ordinance that says business owners can't fire their employees for being gay, then, you know, and maybe like Martinsburg doesn't have that, how possibly could they ever do business together, Charleston and Martinsburg? So that was what they had decided to call it. But the strategy, knowing your opposition, right, Joe? Like knowing your opposition, what their strategies are, it had come up in other states, and so we knew what we were looking at, right? You know, as it started emerging, and other states that had dealt with this particular type of strategy started to call it, instead of the Interstate Commerce Improvement Act, it was the Abolishing Local Liberties Act. And so we immediately renamed it in the press and tried to really show it for what it was. But yeah, how about you guys want to take some questions from the audience? Like, I'm sure you might be, you know, curious about their experience. So I'm going to pass it up to you. If you could shout, or we can get you a microphone, whatever you are comfortable with.
Yeah, in Elkins, I'm wondering, when you said there was one or two city council people that you weren't sure about at the beginning,
Yes.
did they go to their mailboxes, and which way they voted?
Well, there was one that, can you guys hear me if I'm just speaking normally, or do you want me to microphone it?
Use the mic.
Okay. There was one who, see, I had a chance to speak individually with almost every city council member except for these two. And I had heard mixed reviews about both of them. I heard, oh yeah, they're definitely going to vote for it. Oh no, they're definitely going to vote against it. So I wasn't able to really have a good feel for how they would vote. One of them, he was one of the ones who hadn't taken the folder out of his mailbox the night of the meeting. And he voted, and I quote, a resounding no. And then as soon as it passed, he got up and stormed out of the room. He was very angry, so now I know where he stands. The other one, and this was kind of a tough situation for him. He's a local, he's very involved in Boy Scouts, and you guys, I'm sure, all know the Scouts history with this stuff. But he's also very fair-minded, and you could tell throughout the meeting that he was internally struggling, but in the end, he voted yes, and we were very, very thankful for that, because had he not, the mayor would have broken the tie, and he was another one that could have very well gone either way.
Any other questions?
In Elkins, we were able to develop a really productive relationship with the press. So our newspaper that we didn't anticipate being an ally at all turned out to be one of our best allies.
That's big.
There was a letter that came out the day of the vote. The paper backed the resolution. They had this big headline that said equality the day after it had happened. And so that was kind of surprising to us. We were kind of trying to keep a of these events because her research of each of the council members and the amount of effort and time she put into having conversations with them and really cultivating kind of their awareness of what was going on was extensive.
Well, thank you.
Very good impression of that, but so she's being very modest here. But how did the press help or hurt you in any of these other situations? And Katie, do you want to talk at all about the Intermountain and your relationship with them?
Yeah, I can, but I'll let him go ahead.
We ended up in the same boat. I mean, I always viewed the Journal, the Martinsburg Journal, as they seem to be a fairly conservative paper. I mean, they have picked the wrong president for the past 2 times, and always seem to be. But they came out they didn't come out and support openly, but the reporters, and you could tell from the way they were reporting it, you could tell how they felt, and so that did really help a lot. I guess, are you the reporter in yours too?
Yeah, I'm all in one.
Are you the paper and the?
Yes.
Well, as Jess was saying, the Intermountain, they're known for being very conservative, but I formed a connection with one of their reporters he was at every single one of our meetings taking pictures, in his articles. He was very, he tried to come across as impartial, but he was on the right side. But yeah, the day before, the Intermountain editor wrote a letter that said, "We urge the city council to vote in favor of this resolution." And then the day after, I mean, the entire front page was dedicated to it. But for weeks and weeks afterwards, every Saturday is letters to the editor day. And pretty much at least 50% of the letters to the editor were related to this resolution. And some of them were in support. There was this man who wrote just about every week in opposition with Bible verses and stuff. But those probably only stopped maybe a month or 2 ago. I thought it would never end. It was, but in the long run, I think that the press really did help us for sure.
Do you have anything to add as far as the press?
I can answer something similar to your question. With obviously, the newspaper didn't help us pass it, but after we passed ours, there was really resounding. The Huffington Post covered it. The Washington Post covered it. Just this summer, Al Jazeera did like a 3-minute little mini documentary on, not really about the passing of the ordinance so much, but the Thurmond as well. But they talked about it a lot in it. And I think what really made me care about this issue was the response from people through those media outlets. Just the emails and mostly the Facebook comments and that were directed towards me, but then also the Washington Post article made the front page of Reddit. I don't know if anyone gets on Reddit, but there was like 3,000 comments on the Reddit page, and really, really good stuff. And it just kind of, it made me really realize how important this issue is to people and how important it is to our state. I think my favorite comment was someone said, it was like, "Thanks a lot, Tide. What am I supposed to do with my preconceived notions of backwoods West Virginians now?" So I think that really got to the heart of what we were trying to go for with it. And see, I mean, the media it's an absolutely crucial aspect of this whole thing. And I was really proud of the way that the Charleston Gazette covered it, and the Daily Mail at the time. Now they're just one, but they covered it really well, and I couldn't have been happier with the way that the media just portrayed the whole thing, and it was really cool. It was really cool watching all that.
Yeah, Ty, you just brought up how an ordinance like this, it can be like a small change, or like what the woman in the film was saying, like changing these little words makes a big difference in people's lives. Do you think that the media coverage and the positive publicity, what do you think the outcome is going to be of that? What is the overall impact?
I mean, that's a hard question. But, I mean, hopefully, and I think the gist of this is, and what we're all hoping to accomplish with this is just open dialogue more about it. You know, it's not like it's about marriage, which that can, you know, that can become a quagmire of semantics, but I don't think it's really debatable anymore that you should be able to kick someone out of their house for being gay or fire them from their job for being gay. You know, do it for other reasons, because they're a bad worker, or, you know, because they didn't pay their rent or something like that. It shouldn't be a reason why. So hopefully this kind of coverage will bring these kind of conversations to light with people. And you know, for me personally, I can say, as a straight white male living in southern West Virginia, this conversation doesn't come up that often with me and my friends. It has now since I've become involved in it, and so I think that's the biggest thing you can do, is just stimulate, you know, productive, conducive conversations that, you know, nobody has to necessarily agree at the end of it, but at least everyone can think of it in a different way. So if you can do that, I think that's the best. That's the best you can hope for, or that's the least you can hope for. But, you know, hopefully it can get even better than that.
Katie, what do you think some of the positive impacts are going to be once Elkins passes the ordinance?
Well, even like Ty was saying, even since the resolution, just the dialogue, and it really, I don't know, it kind of served as a huge motivation for a lot of us.